What is up, guys? We're back in some more Roblox. I don't think I've played Roblox on this channel. I've played it once on this channel, but yeah. Don't look at that, please. That's the pooping meme, okay? Don't ask. Okay, you know, it's just stupid, okay? Baseball. Hey, I'm not gonna do anything about that.
More special with the iconic Coca-Cola glass bottle. With our price promise, you won't get it cheaper from any other major retailer, even online. The Curry's BC World.
The ragdoll. I don't think this game has anything to do with the ragdoll. Oh my god. Baby. Baby. What the freak?
It's time to play with the ads. Play online, on mobile and on tablet. Get £10 free when you join 32
way.
The big deal.
That's Iceland's luxury beetroot cheddar and pesto soufflette selection. Let's leave them with you. Tasty one though. That's Christmas. That's when you should go to Iceland.
Okay, that game was pretty bad. I must cancel the video, by the way. Wow. Wait, please tell me I can at least play. Finally, this game worked. I hope this fixed that stupid glitch. Because when you like transformed into one, it made you die.
What was going on with her that would cause somebody to think they had murder?
Maybe she had a little bit more of a secret life than they knew.
We finally have a breakthrough into Tulsa's biggest mysteries.
Killer Unknown, Wednesday at 11. Brand new and exclusive on Investigation Discovery.
Midnight crime at the early hours of Christmas Eve. Wrap up presents. Wrapping up these cases, a serial killer at large at dead of night at 1 and at 2 tracks 6 degrees of murder.
Roblox Casino sponsors.
I was visiting my mom every other weekend to see how Luke was doing, and I would try to go in there and play with him and make sure he was okay.
I'm just gonna go.
I was also trying to find out Luke in my life.
No way.
When my mother found Sherry as a babysitter for my younger brother Luke, I remember there was a lot of custody battles between my brother's dads and my mother. She lost me, she lost Zach, and now she was losing Luke, her last son. Sherry Walker was a really genuine, nice, good person. She really adored and loved Luke a lot.
It's a picture of Cherry Walker. She was a lovely person. She was kind of a pure soul in so many ways. I can't help but to look at her as kind of a martyr for us, a symbol of the hideousness of what Kimberly did. I remember it so clearly. My phone buzzed, and I looked down, and it was Kimberly's mother. And she said, you know Cherry Walker? Her body was found burned out in the country. literally, the first words were just, no. I mean, it was kind of mind-blowing almost. It was so surreal. Kimberly was the #1 suspect from the very minute they discovered
You saw that.
who Cherry
He
was.
wins every fight he gets into. Okay, that is admin. If you can look.
It was a CPS hearing, and Cherry was subpoenaed. So once that happened, I think Kimberly just became just desperate.
How fast is Mach 2?
And so, in order to prevent her from testifying, Kimberly, killed her.
What?
Kimberly's version of the
What does it
events
mean?
was that she picked up Cherry Walker to have dinner to talk to her about
No bleeding
in
way.
the upcoming CPS trial.
Okay, the screen here might be a bit hard to say.
And that she stopped breathing and then went
Yeah.
for a while to try and figure out what to do. She decides
It's
that
great.
she needs to
You
take her
guys.
out in the country, took some lighter fluid out of the back of her car, squirted it all over her body, and lit her on fire.
If it's too heavy, all of you sleep, okay? It's too heavy, Linda. You're right, everyone.
When Kimberly's
Now you can stay,
mother
but
called me and told me
let's
about
find a way.
this, Jamie was actually
Come,
there.
come.
And part of the reason that she called me was that
Okay,
they
put
were
your legs there,
basically
so
leaving
you
town.
want.
And DA had arranged for them
You are
to stay in a
safe.
hotel, kind of a protected place.
Hello?
that, Kimberly
Hello?
wouldn't know,
Yeah, I'm talking
just
to
in
you.
case there were
Yo.
any kind of threat. It's just been really, really difficult to get my head around the idea that Kimberly would actually deliberately, premeditatedly do that, take someone's life.
Ella?
Yes.
Put your socks together, baby, yeah, on the floor. Put them together, right?
The first time I'd seen my mom since
She
the
was
news,
fly, yeah?
and the last time I've seen my mom at all
I wouldn't even call
when
her mom.
took the stand. They make you stand up, say your name, point, say, I recognize Kimberly Diane.
Yeah, put it away after, yeah?
I saw a woman who was broken beyond repair. I remember her eyes are like steel, like just cold, lifeless. That's all I could see was the eyes of a murderer.
You can see equal.
In their closing arguments, the state prosecutors told the jury that Cardinal was a liar, a killer, and a monstrous child abuser. They then ordered the jury to sentence the death penalty when deciding her fate.
I didn't realize how
Good.
much of an impact
For
my
her and for
testimony
the
would be.
children.
And I felt really
Look
bad
at her.
because I wouldn't want anybody
You see?
to die because of me. But I just felt like justice had been served.
She will be killing you,
And
baby.
finally, all the
As she
years and
would, eh?
years.
I bet she
years,
done
all
that
the
to the
times I
baby
called the
cocker.
police, or all the times that she had hit me or my brothers. I felt like all of that finally came to an end. I got fights with my and now I used some drugs to eventually I decided that I need to turn my life around or I'm gonna end up just like my mother. Really hard to, build a career for myself. I've gone to culinary school, graduated with honors. When I'm gonna make sure that you guys all the things that I didn't have. I know in my heart that he'll be loved, he'll be cared for, and for the rest of his life he'll love
would not want anything to do with
I
her.
almost always give the same response, and is I just have no interest. Move on with my life and try to forget that it ever happened. It's a chapter of my life that I'm planning on closing. My mother sent me a lot of letters, maybe 30 or 40 letters during her time of incarceration.
Don't answer any.
Oftentimes she'll mention how she'll be found innocent, or the truth will finally be heard and she'll be set free. And you know, that just reminds me that
And
you
she's
know,
selfish.
maybe
She's
she's
thinking
where
about,
she belongs.
and she's still thinking about her, not forgiveness for all the beatings and nothing. How can people seem so selfish? Reality. Oh my god.
I felt like you ought to die.
I just wish she were still here.
You're right.
How much can you lose and still be able?
You shut up. Tuesday at 10, only investigation discovery, available on catch up.
Pam and Billy and said, I need you to kill my husband.
American Murder Mystery Season continues Friday from 10 with Pamela Smart on Investigation Discovery.
Murder at dead of night in an hour. Before that, a serial killer on the loose in the Wonderland. Murders, not a lot of Christmas cheer here on Investigation Discovery.
We had some issues.
It felt different. It was a great sight.
I've never seen any.
I'll never win. Am I?
Is he gonna kill you?
Oh. Oh. No.
The hunt is exciting. We're working against time. We have 2 victims.
Thanks for being so You've been good, my
The Pacific Northwest. Rugged. Mysterious.
I need to leave that server because wow, that is laggy.
But this paradise can be a hunting ground. A graveyard. And the perfect place.
What the hell?
I'm usually called to a crime scene when something extremely unusual has happened. I'm looking for things that might tie into the story that I've been told. Washington Park is an urban park, but there's an extensive amount of trails, very dense, and pretty remote. So there's a lot of places where you could end up dumping a body. We got something I've never seen before.
When I saw that young woman, it kind of took my breath away. It was just such a contradiction to the beauty of the environment.
Who discovered her? The park ranger behind me.
This was something that you could tell they've never seen anything like this. It can be pretty traumatizing.
The bottom half of her legs, her feet, her torso, her pelvis, those were pristine. But she was completely decomposing from the rib cage up. So we had exposed ribs, we had her organs that had been decomposing as well. She did have on a sweatshirt, but from the shoulders up, she was completely skeletal. No skin on her face, no eyes, no ears left, only her hair was there. I'd never seen anything like it.
Alright, and the rest was that's
It seemed that this was not a person that had been living outdoors. This victim had skin that was clean. It was unblemished. It didn't have bug bites or scratches.
Any ID?
No.
She was naked from the waist down. Immediately, as seasoned investigators, I thought this girl's been sexually assaulted.
We only get one shot at the evidence.
É, tá aqui,
on
tem
this
que
young
escrever,
lady,
filha, mama.
and
Aquela
we need
filha
to
que
use
viva.
those possible.
Give me a couple days.
Ah,
Molly's a
she
no-nonsense
switches
kind of
election.
investigate. She
And
tells
that's
it
how
like
I see
it
the
is.
TV.
She lets you know exactly what she needs
Yeah,
from
that's what I'm
you.
saying.
We
I can see
knew
now
we
because
had to
she's
perform what we call the full Molly. Everything we can
It's kind of
analyze.
stupid though. I'm just making up
We're
the
going
thing.
to put
Well,
110%
yeah, your
into this
face-
case in order to come to a successful resolution, because that's what Molly Doll asks for.
Shall we go back to sleep, yeah? Is that where you were, yeah?
When do you want to issue a statement?
Let's wait until after the autopsy.
Okay. We've had a rich history in the Northwest of well-known serial killers. We have a body in this park. It's the beginning of summer. We knew this was going to be a big deal. We really had to start making sure people understood they were safe.
She was left like someone just pulling the garbage out. I've come across victims before where I can't determine their identity initially, but they have a face. I didn't have a face, and all I could think of is that your family doesn't know where you are right now, and it's heartbreaking.
My
Detective
socks
Molly
in
Dahl
here.
starts
I put
her
it there.
search for a killer.
Is that okay?
And at the Oregon State Crime Lab, Dr. Nikki Vance tries to identify this murder victim.
When I'm analyzing a body, I'll talk to them quite often. To me, that seems natural, because they used to be someone. To try and give them a voice for me is paramount. I'm not desensitized to these cases. I tend to take it personally.
I know that if Dr. Vance is on the case, she's going to get as much as she can from what the body tells her.
So I look at this young person on the autopsy table and I think, who in the world could this be? And how in the world are we going to find who did this to you?
Detective Dahl checks into missing persons, but knows it's a long shot at best.
This case had so little evidence. I didn't know what she looked like, so that made it extremely hard to even narrow down your search parameters as a missing person or as a possible runaway.
She had to try to reach out throughout Portland, throughout Oregon, throughout the country to find out who this is.
But one clue lies in plain sight.
We found low-fly alarm inside of the heart trachea.
Clients will be drawn to a wound.
So we can look at the generations that have been on that body to try and draw an estimate of the time since that person's been dead. We were able to narrow it down between 7 days to about a week and a half.
Can we pick a grade age?
15 to 17, most likely. We did not see any trauma. She was not shot, she was not stabbed, she was not hit over the head with a rock. In this case, we were not able to determine an actual cause of death. So really the only conclusion that we could draw is that she was perhaps strangled. Our DNA sample is solid.
Great. We were banking on some kind
Ah,
of
eu tenho
DNA
que
coming
compor
back
fácil de
from our autopsy.
Isso aqui, isso estomou aqui just like an hour ago.
Police have more questions
Weird.
than answers.
The possibilities
It's
were
composed
endless.
everywhere, no? At the same time, kind of, no?
How she died.
I told you that I could charge and now it's dead.
He died.
But, like I said, this investigation
It
is
just
waiting.
had 7%.
We really need to get more information.
And now what?
I want to assure you that
Did she die by one hand?
Take from my phone,
She
Ayla.
lured up there by a couple.
It just had 7%.
You cannot rule out anything
Exactly.
at this juncture.
Yeah.
Oh. If you put it back, it won't work.
Detective Dahl gets some devastating news. There's no
Use my
DNA match to
phone.
the
Use your
killer.
phone. Ah, okay, now use my
We
phone.
had to
Oh.
come right back down to ground zero.
Tata.
Not only
But
did
you
I
have to
still
charge
not
it. Leave
know
it charged.
who my victim was, I had a suspect.
You don't want my phone?
I had no idea who he was.
It's just in the corner, Ayla.
Molly
On the
doesn't
chair,
stop
look.
at a junction like that and
Ayla, look.
we knew this was a contemporary teenager who with black hair, and she was probably Hispanic. So we employed a forensic sketch artist. I'll have the cranium ready for her. And she takes us these types of drawings.
When we got the sketch, it breathed.
Why is
I
it
go
much
pee.
damage?
They only gave me one attachment.
That's it.
And my bread and my...
We put out a press release
You're
and
serious?
crossed our fingers and we're hoping that
Rice and ketchup.
about the victim.
Police released this sketch of the woman
Rice and
whose body
ketchup.
was found in Washington Park back on June 26th. Investigators don't know
Yes,
who
yes.
she is,
Yes,
but
yes.
they do think she
Stop
was
it,
murdered.
That's not true. My mom was yeah, she does eat a lot. Sean, don't tell me oh my god, yeah? You have sweet ketchup.
She's not have chicken. Hey, la.
In the investigative process,
try it?
Lily and I are always a match.
And you have chicken too then?
Was that transfer isn't done. That
Yes or no?
is another.
Okay, why you saying you just have to ketchup and rice?
Despite all the media attention
Aye.
it's gotten, nobody in Portland's come forward with any information, and the clock is ticking. It's now July 3rd.
I really have time to talk about this right now, right?
Barely 1 week after the body was discovered in Washington Park.
The horror of this crime and the innocence of the victim left our city reeling.
And as day turns to night, Portland will soon awaken to the terrifying possibility a serial killer has just turned Wonderland into their hunting ground.
As the art of murder. And with the high prices comes a level of real luxury never seen before.
The extent of the luxury is hard to fathom. You can pre-order your favourite wines, and you can take your dogs and cats and parakeets on board. Anything you say goes, you are king on that train.
In America, there are plain-speaking self-made men on business trips. But Europe is a continent
Is it
made up of
charging
jealous
anything yet?
imperial dynasties, vying for power and influence. The
Hey,
Orient
Ma.
Express becomes
Is it
synonymous with
charging?
political intrigue and internet.
Yes, check.
I have...
Cheers starts Friday at 9 on Sky One. It might be cold out. Sudafed. Way to say my flat.
Thanks to the Batcave. Its task to sweep through the Solomon Islands and New Guinea towards the islands of the Philippines. In overall command, the charismatic Douglas MacArthur, the general who had famously sworn to return to the Philippines after the Japanese conquest of March 1942. To the north, the Central Pacific Area Command of Admiral Chester Nimitz was allocated the second thrust of the American offensive. This would involve a vast naval force advancing from island to island across thousands of kilometers of ocean, from the Gilbert Islands through the Marshalls and Carolines to the Marianas. Eventually, the two prongs of the offensive would converge for a final unified assault on the island of Formosa, before moving against the islands of Japan itself. It was an audacious plan, but the vast amount of naval material required for Nimitz's objectives was still not available in early 1943. So it was the forces of Douglas MacArthur that began the task of pushing back the frontiers of the Japanese Empire. It was an achievement of epic proportions. In the spring of 1943, the American Southwest Pacific Command considered its options for the task that now faced them. It was already obvious that the main Japanese stronghold in the region was the fortress of Rabaul on the island of New Britain. This was the headquarters of the Japanese 8th Area Army, a force of 100,000 fighting men. If Rabaul could be destroyed,
then further progress towards the Philippines would become a far easier enterprise. By early May 1943, General MacArthur and his colleagues had determined their plan. MacArthur himself would lead an advance along the northeast coast of New Guinea, driving the Japanese back before crossing over to New Britain. At the same time, his deputy, Admiral William Bull Halsey, would lead an invasion force from Guadalcanal through the Solomon Islands so that Rabaul could be attacked from two sides. The operation was given the code name Cartwheel, and on the 13th of June, 1943, the fight back in the Pacific began. That day, the 43rd American Infantry Division took to their landing craft for an assault on the Solomon Island of Hilo. Massive artillery barrage was required, but not even the power of the 155mm howitzer shells could force the Japanese to abandon Mungo. It took the intervention of American air power and reinforcements on the ground before the airfield was finally taken. This was an auspicious beginning to the eastern thrust of Operation Cartwheel. Admiral Halsey knew that there were far more substantial Japanese positions located at Columbangara, especially Bougainville. This was the headquarters of the 17th Army of General Habakichi Hayakataki, a veteran of Guadalcanal fighting. But the American commander proved equal to the challenge. Much to the surprise of Hayakataki, Halsey ordered that Columbangara should be bypassed. Instead, he dispatched American and New Zealand troops to the more lightly defended island of Venezuela. 2 months later, in early November, Halsey also achieved tactical surprise by launching his attack on Bougainville from the west. General Hayakataki had not anticipated a landing in this swamp region, but by the time he scrambled his forces in response, the American Marines were establishing a bridgehead on the island. With this achieved, the Japanese commander was never able to regain the initiative, and Bougainville eventually fell on November the 26th. The eastern objectives of Operation Cartwheel had now been fully achieved. To the west, General MacArthur had also enjoyed considerable success. On the vast jungle island of New Guinea, Allied troops had been at grips with the enemy well before the attack in the Solomon Islands. Early in 1943, an Australian garrison at Wau had been engaged in a bitter fight to hold the position in the face of a keen Japanese assault. Only a last-minute airborne reinforcement of troops had saved the Australians from defeat, and the Japanese offensive was finally abandoned at the end of February. It had been a bloody engagement. 200 Australians lost their lives in bitter close-quarter jungle fighting. But 1,200 Japanese also died at Wau, and by spring 1943, the Australian troops of General Savage's 3rd Division were ready to play their part in support of Operation Cartwheel. On April the 26th, the Australian men left their base at Wau and set off towards the coast. Their destination was a position near to the Japanese base at Salamoa. It was a journey of just 55 kilometers to the east, but it would take 2 months to cover the ground. The jungle was virtually impenetrable, and the Australians also had to contend with enemy outposts deep in the rainforest. It was the 29th of June before the exhausted units eventually arrived at the coast. But they had achieved their objective. Australian troops now joined together with a landing party of American infantry to attack Japanese positions at Suramoa and Lae. Despite a vigorous defense, by the 11th of September, the Japanese were retreating into the mountains in the face of the combined Allied attack. By the 22nd of September, Australian forces had arrived at the Japanese base of Finschhafen. But the the site was deserted, the Japanese now chose to concentrate their resources in the regions of Saddleberg, and it took another bloody engagement before this stronghold fell on the 25th of November 1943. But victory at Saddleberg meant that the western thrust of Operation Cartwheel had also completed its objective. The next day, some 800 kilometers to the east, American Marines completed the capture of Bougainville, and the Japanese stronghold of Rabaul was now under threat from two sides, as planned. But MacArthur and his colleagues had already realized that an assault on the Japanese 8th Army was unnecessary. Simply isolating it would be enough. It was a far less costly approach. After establishing a defensive position on southern New Britain, early in 1944, American and New Zealand troops moved to capture the small islands to the north. The Rabaul base was effectively surrounded, and 100,000 troops found themselves cut off from the war. With this achieved, MacArthur's American forces moved against the northern coast of New Guinea. On the 22nd of April 1944, an amphibious landing of some 80,000 men arrived at the Japanese stronghold of Finlandia, only to find it abandoned. The Japanese presence on the island was now in retreat, and with the Rabaul base cut off, there was little that their commanders could do to halt the Allied progress, despite the best efforts of their men on the ground. By the 15th of September, a delighted Douglas MacArthur was able to report his arrival on the island of Morotai. The Philippines were now within striking distance. MacArthur's promise that he would return to the islands was now more pointedly realized, and the Pacific War Zone was guaranteed. In late 1943, far away in the Gilbert Islands, the men of Admiral Nimitz began their journey across the Central Pacific. This first step gave Nimitz and his colleagues a hint of what lay ahead on the path to victory. On the 20th of November 1943, American Marines launched an amphibious assault on the island of Tarawa. Within days, the American public that victory in the Pacific would come at a price. Tarawa was a tiny objective, an island just 3 kilometers in length, but it took the loss of 1,000 American troops to capture it. Many of these men never reached the shore. Survivors recalled one Japanese machine gunner who trained his weapon on the opening bow doors of the American landing craft. For those troops caught in his line of fire, there was little chance of survival. Not for the last time, the warm shore waters of the Pacific Ocean were filled with the bodies of the dead. Tarawa was a taste of things to come. When the Japanese guns eventually fell silent, the island air was filled with the smell of death. Only 17 of the 4,200 Japanese defenders were taken alive. Prisoners of war would be a rare phenomenon during the Pacific conflict. For the vast majority of Japanese fighting men, surrender to the enemy was an option filled with shame. It was quite literally a fate worse than death, and it is this that provides the main explanation for the tiny numbers of war prisoners taken in the Pacific. But there was also another reason. For the Allies, taking Japanese prisoners could be a risky business. At Guadalcanal, American troops had discovered the fanaticism of their enemy. Many commanders reported occasions when a wounded Japanese came forward in apparent surrender. When an American Marine not intended his defeated adversary, the Japanese would deploy a suicide grenade that also killed his captor. From Guadalcanal onwards, American forces remained wary of taking any prisoners alive. It is said that there are some legends explaining the rolling death rows that characterized the Pacific War. But the slaughter at Tarawa was still a shock to the American public in 1943, and Admiral Nimitz was determined to learn any lessons that he could from the carnage. For his next objective, Berlin, the American commander did everything in his power to minimize the Japanese threat before his ground troops attacked. 3 days later, ships and paratroopers of Task Force 58 was launched against Kwagaleem before American infantrymen went ashore on February the 1st, 1944. But as Nimitz must have suspected, not even this could neuter the fighting spirit of the individual Japanese soldier. On the 4th of February, the American commander was informed that Kwagaline had finally been taken. 173 men of his 7th Infantry Division had lost their lives. 4,938 Japanese had shared their fate. Even when the battle was all but lost, the soldier of the Japanese Empire refused to surrender, and it was left to American flamethrower units to complete the grim conquest of Kwagaline.
Oof.
A similar loss of life was also reported on the Marshall Island atoll of Oneida. Here, the Japanese lost all but 64 of 2,700 men by the time the island was taken on the 21st of February. Again, an initial bombardment by American naval and air forces contributed to the death toll, but as on Kwagaline, it was a much closer kind of combat that finally secured the capture of the island. It was not clear to pilots and senior commanders that the deployment of ground troops had to be a measure of last resort. If strategic objectives could be obtained without face-to-face fighting, then that would be the favoured option. Douglas MacArthur recognised this when he decided not to attack the stronghold of Rabaul. In February 1944, Americans came to a similar decision concerning the Japanese naval base of Tromsø. The physical capture of the island was not essential. Instead, Nimitz ordered a massive two-day air assault beginning on the 17th of February 1944. 9 waves of Hellcat fighters, Avenger torpedo bombers, and Dauntless dive bombers transformed a paradise island into a scene of carnage.
Oh guys, I'm not into eat a bun.